September what? 4th?
September 4th, election day.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, September 4th, the day Mulroney's going to get in. You think so? I do.
Well, if that's going to do any good. You know, I think Mulroney is as good as got it made.
I believe he has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're sitting here trying to catch up on what has happened in the summer between the two of us. And Charlie told me he didn't get any holes in one this year. Nothing this spring.
Didn't do any golf, and I didn't feel like it.
But I did enjoy that game we had. That was a lot of fun. Remember we went out this spring together?
Yeah.
I still remember that.
Yeah,
That was a good day. And then my son did a lot of golfing this summer with my grandfather.
Oh, yeah.
With his grandfather, I should say. Yeah. Well, but you're going to tell me how you made this canoe now, okay?
Yeah, well, I was just sitting here figuring out exactly how I did make it, you know. And I had some 12-foot 1x2s. And the first one I made was in about 1933 in Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the 2x4 that I had was about 8 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
Just about 8 feet, maybe 9 feet long.
That didn't give you much length.
Well, that's for the bottom part.
Okay, yeah.
And
Did you build it on a form?
no,
Just,
just started right out from scratch.
yeah?
And I did everything backwards. I took I put the bow boards in first, and I'm trying to figure out what I used for bow boards. And I think it was an apple box end.
Yeah, really?
I think they were apple box ends.
I built a lot of...
Cut off cornerways, you know.
Yeah, so you got triangles.
And so that it came up from the bottom up, you know. And I mortised that into the end of the 2x4s on each end.
For the keel.
Yeah. Oh, you can call it a keel if you want to. It didn't stick out the bottom.
Yeah.
But anyway, then I marked the 2x4 off every 4 inches on it. And then I drilled holes, 1/2-inch holes in it. And I drilled them on the bottom edge, like you set that up. I drilled them up a little bit so that I put willow ribs in, so that the willow ribs would sit out flat in these round holes, you see.
I'm trying to picture that.
Well,
Then you stretch the boards over the ribs.
no, I took and I made it. I nailed on the top of the 2x4 a couple of 1x4s, and if I remember right, they were about 2 feet apart, or 2.5 feet apart, spaced so that the center was just halfway between each one. And then around the outside of this, I bent a 1x2, spruce 1x2s in Saskatchewan. There you get all spruce.
Yeah. That's good wood, though.
Spruce is light
and strong.
and fairly strong.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And you can bend it easy.
After all, the props on the Spitfire
Right.
were made out of 14 laminations of Sitka spruce.
Yeah, from over in Alaska there. Sitka Island.
Up on the Queen Charlotte Islands.
Oh, they got it there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Queen Charlotte Island, Sitka spruce.
That was the props.
It's a spruce wood that grows like plywood.
Yeah.
Into woven grain wood.
Oh, tough.
Really
tough.
Yeah.
And that's what they made Spitfire propellers out of.
Anyway, then I put up 2 1x2s from end to end on the top of the end of these bow boards that I had, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I put 4 cross pieces in, 2 short ones in each end and 2 longer ones in the middle.
Yeah, okay.
Center, like the Indians make.
Yeah, I got
They
it.
have cross pieces in their canoes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tied it down on the sides so that the sides would be down a bit and the ends would be up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it looked like a canoe. If I remember right, the sides were about a foot high, in the center. Maybe a little higher.
Mm-hmm. Well, they aren't much higher than that nowadays. They're about the same.
Yeah.
About the same.
Well, the bottom canoes are a little higher than the one. This was just a 12-foot, little 12-foot.
One-man canoe.
We had 4 in it.
What?
We carried 4 in it.
4 people?
4 people, grown people, yeah.
How wide was it? How
Well, it's about 30 inches. I made it out of, when I stretched the canvas on, you see, I went and cut willow ribs and poked them in these holes
Mm-hmm.
and bent them out around your A-frame on the bottom, you know, or you call it, or your diamond shape. It's not a diamond shape either because it's bent on there around the 1x4s, you see. You nail it on right behind the bow board and then bend it out around your 1x4 and around the other 1x4 and then on the other end, and this shapes the bottom of your canoe.
I think I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had gunnels on the top. You had gunnel boards.
Cross pieces, yeah.
Didn't you have any boards running the length on the outside? On the top, on the
Yeah,
rim?
yeah,
Those are
yeah.
gunnels, they call them
That's a
gunnels.
gunnel. That's
Yeah.
a 1x2.
Yeah, those are the 1x2s. I got you on that, right.
Okay. Then I just stuck a willow in a hole in the hole in the center of the canoe and bent it up around and nailed it up on the outside.
Mhm.
You know, bent it around that 1x2 on the bottom, and you have to do one on one side and then go around
And match it up.
and do 1 or 2 on the other side.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the top of your canoe will spring out of
out of true.
Out of true.
Yeah,
You'll be putting
right.
it on their corner way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. What did you use to cover it? Canvas?
I covered that over with canvas and I nailed I used carpet tacks. You see, nowadays you can use a staple gun,
Mm-hmm, right.
but I use a carpet
You spent a whole day
tack. I
with
painted the 2x4 with aluminum paint on the bottom. And then I nailed it the canvas on right down in the paint, you
Mhm.
see. And put it just a little bit over past center and nailed it down to the end of the bow boards. Right down to where it turns up.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, you nail the other canvas on right over the top of that, but you paint the canvas first.
So you had
And,
2 layers.
2 layers of canvas right down the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Where it wears.
where it wears. Well, it isn't going to wear there because then I took and I put a 1x2 right on top of that.
Good
Nail that
idea. Good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
So you
nail
hit the
that on,
rocks.
you see,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
this here comes up to the bottom end of your bow board. If you get it on there just right, you won't have any trouble. But if you put your ends on, they have to go on pull one side and tack it, and then pull the other side and tack it.
Mhm.
And pull one side onto the bow board and the other one up on the top. And here you have to put in short willows every 4 inches, straight up. And these are not bent. These are not in any holes. These just come straight down, you see.
Mhm.
This makes for a nice shape on the front corner, on the front of your canoe.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Now, you get a willow about 1.5 inches through, and you start splitting it on the top.
Yeah, fork it.
And if it starts to split off one side, you pull the side that isn't splitting. You split it right down the middle. Green
Okay.
willow,
Yeah, I got you, yeah.
right straight down the middle.
How long?
Wide enough or long enough to go from the end of that 1x2 right up around your bow board,
Mm-hmm.
clear to the top.
Mm-hmm. That's
You take a plane and you plane that off on the inside until it's smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And then you paint right up around your bow board there
Mm-hmm.
and nail your willow on right around up over the canvas. Or
Mhm.
you can beach it without it.
Right, without it ripping the ends and
Without
tearing
ripping
it.
the ends, yeah.
Tearing it out, yeah. Huh. You made good use of the willow.
Yeah, that's willow ribs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can take another one that you can do. You can put 2 short pieces of 1x2 in out on the sides, in about say 4 or 5 inches in from the outside edge of your canoe, right on the bottom. Put one on each side, and these act as a kind of a rudder on it, or keep it, straight in the water.
And it also.
But the most valuable part of it is you can sharpen that on the ends, slope it up like a sleigh runner on the ends, and you can take a run at a flow ice on a lake in the spring when I was trapping rats.
Yeah.
And jump that right out up on top of the ice.
Yeah. Without ripping.
And then you can, if you've got spikes in your paddles, a couple of paddles.
Did you put spikes in them?
Yeah, you can take one on each side.
Yeah.
And you can slide away across over there 200 or 300 yards and into the water. And you can go into the water and out of the water and into the water and
just
out
like
of the
a
water.
muskrat yourself.
And the Saskatchewan Indians thought I was crazy, but
Yeah.
they were sure I was going to drown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they didn't know what I had for a canoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
spike paddles so you could get give yourself a shot.
Yeah. Catching the ice, yeah.
What an ingenious idea. That's good.
I use that for trapping rats. If you're going to start out competing with the Indians trapping rats, especially in Saskatchewan, you got to have something better to work with than what the Indian has, because I was over on an island there trapping rats, and I came around and we got over there in time to set 5 traps before dark. The next morning I was up bright and early, and I came around and took a look at my first trap, and no rat in it. The next one I had to look at it, and here's another rat trap set
right beside it, huh?
about 2 feet away.
Yeah, yeah.
It was dark, and I didn't see it, or otherwise I never would have sat there.
Yeah,
you see?
yeah.
And and the other guy's trap had a rat in it.
Yeah.
So I killed the rat
and laid it there
and left it there.
Mm-hmm.
So I got just about another 100 yards, and here I met an Indian coming around.
Yeah, yeah.
Wringing wet from head to foot.
Oh no.
Yeah.
He'd fallen through.
He waded across from shore to this island.
In the winter?
About 200 yards. He waded through the ice cold water to get over there to trap.
Oh no.
So he couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak Cree very good.
Yeah.
But we understood one another enough that he'd been trapping on the shore, and there was a bunch of foreigners that was hard to get along with.
Yeah.
Had pulled a bunch of his bank sets out,
yeah,
hammered his traps all to pieces, and thrown them into the lake, and treated the guy rough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he was just trying to make a living.
Yeah. Yeah. So I brought him into camp, and so he got a duck in one of his traps.
Mm-hmm.
This is cream, boy, I'm telling you. The mallards just come back from the south.
Yeah, I'll bet they were good.
We had duck for breakfast.
Yeah, that was good.
So I took him in my canoe trapping.
Mm-hmm.
I took him in my canoe trapping.
Mm-hmm.
And we trapped out on the water. These other guys were on the shore, and they couldn't bother us then. He thought this was really wonderful.
Did he think your canoe was okay?
He thought this canoe was a real wonderful.
Yeah.
Boy, could he ever handle a canoe.
Yeah.
And
He was good at a canoe too, huh? Was he good with a canoe?
Oh, sure, he was good with a canoe. You better believe it. We got rats. We got rats.
You could
we
shoot him
the
too.
noses of these guys on the shore.
You could shoot him too, couldn't you?
Well, yeah, we
with a
shot
22, yeah.
Yeah.
That's legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my experience of making a canoe. I painted it with aluminum paint,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't leak a bit no place.
Mm-hmm.
So I left Loon Lake, coming out of there, and I wasn't going to go back. I was working on a farm down. And Henry Campbell, a fellow where I worked in a flour mill for,
Yeah, I remember you told me about
traded
him.
me a 22 rifle for my canoe.
Mm.
So,
A new one.
yeah, a good
Mm.
22 rifle for my canoe. So that's. Then I built another one the next spring when rat season was on down at St. Walburg. I built another canoe down there, and it got the sight burned out of it. We left it laying on the shore of a slough, and the guy come down and he burnt the dead grass off, cleaning it up so he'd have good clean hay in the fall.
I get the
Burnt
picture.
the side out of my canoe.
One side was okay, the other side was burned.
Yeah. Another one I built after I came to British Columbia. I built one in Caribbeas.
Yeah.
And I used it for going across the river when I was working for Miller's down in Chepacabra there, sawing.
Mm-hmm.
And but I wouldn't take nobody across with me. They got pretty mad, but I wouldn't take anybody across the river. I paddled my own bloody canoe across,
Mhm.
and I could go back and forth whenever I felt like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I gave that to my nephew, Bobby Preston, down at, lives at Rock Creek, and he used it for a long time. When it finally wore out, he said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He used it a long time.
That was a heavier one, though.
Huh?
That was a bigger canoe, heavier.
Well, no, it was 16 foot or 14 foot long.
Yeah.
A couple of feet longer, and I imagine it weighed, oh, maybe about 32, 34 pounds, but it's still light, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can build them. I wouldn't give you nothing for a canoe that weighed over 50 pounds or over.
Mm.
It's too heavy.
Mm-hmm. You shouldn't have to get that weight, no.
The lighter you can build a canoe, it's just like a bubble on the water.
Yeah, right.
And if you get sick out on the lake, I don't care how high the waves are, you can lay down in that on your back.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Stay right square in the middle, hang
Yeah.
onto the sides.
Yeah. And it'll float like a feather, right?
It never will go.
Yeah.
It won't go.
It'll just follow the waves.
Yeah, just follow the waves. Yeah.
Yeah. I've done
Every
that.
time it comes up on the top of a wave, the
Mhm.
wind will blow it,
Mhm.
and the wind will catch it if the wind's blowing. But I came down that little canoe I built, that little 12-footer. There's me and the game warden in Loon Lake, Saskatchewan. There, we came down Loon Lake, is 7 miles long, when the waves were so high that when we were down in between the waves, that you couldn't see shore. And
That's waves. Yeah.
That's waves.
Yeah, because you're sitting 3 or 4 feet up.
we never took a drop of water. We
Mm.
never took a drop of water until we hit shore. When we hit shore where the waves were breaking on the shore, then we took water.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
I can appreciate a light canoe after this summer. We had one around 80 pounds again.
Yeah.
I believe you got something when you say anything over 50 pounds.
Well, you got to watch out, you know, with a light canoe, because the lighter the canoe, the more tricky it is.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that you absolutely have to remember. You never touch the sides, one side of a canoe at a time. If you're going to touch the side of the canoe, put a hand on both sides
At the same time. Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And a good idea is keep your hands off of the sides.
Yeah. Yeah. Sit right in the middle.
Yeah. And the lighter your canoe, the nearer you got it, closer you got to be in the bottom of the canoe to paddle it.
Mhm.
And the Indians, with their birch bark canoes, they sit with on their feet.
Mhm.
They sit right on their feet in the bottom of the birch bark canoe. But a birch bark canoe is just as round as a barrel on the bottom. But my
Tippy
canoe,
canoes.
it's really tippy. Yeah. My canoe was flat
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah. How did you get to working with willow like that? Why did you choose willow?
Well, it's about the only thing that you can use.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you want to do like the Indians do.
And
The
steel.
Indians go in the bush and take I've seen them with an axe, chop a spruce tree in two. And then they always have a pole axe. And then they split their ribs out of
Mhm.
spruce,
Mhm.
clear spruce.
And then they.
You see?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll chop into the end of a 4-foot piece of spruce with an axe, and then drive it on through with a rock.
Hard on the axes, huh?
Hard on the axe, hard on the rock, harder on the Indian than anything else.
I can see somebody pounding away with a rock. Oh.
Yeah. But back in them days, you know, the Cree Indians in northern Saskatchewan there, they could do just about anything. But they'd get disgusted, you know, and that quite often you're walking through the bush and you see a canoe half finished and just laying there rotten. And they just didn't get it done that summer, and didn't get back to it next summer.
Are they? Do they look to the future very much? Like, I mean, do they think about next year or the year ahead, or do they just live sort of right
Just
now?
live for mostly just for now, you know.
Yeah.
And the squaws are the ones that look ahead, you know.
If they didn't, the whole
They
family.
never think about leaving a rat, a spare rat, so for breeding purposes, you know.
Yeah.
To catch every rat that there was.
Yeah.
Well, they needed it.
They didn't have much.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Exactly.
You see, they trapped the mink out too, but there's quite a few mink around, and the mink kills the rats, you see. And the mink gets under the ice in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Gets into the big houses.
Yeah.
And pretty tough on the muskrats.
Yeah, I betcha. I'll
Better believe
betcha.
it.
A mink comes out of that hole in their house. What are they gonna do?
Yeah,
If they can't get back down the hole, they're doomed, right?
yeah. Yep, that's the way she goes.
Well, you thought a lot of those Indians, though, I can tell.
The Saskatchewan Cree Indians is one of the squarest bunch of people in the world if you treat them right.
Yeah.
Treat them right, you know.
Yeah. Well, they just
Yeah.
want to be treated like a human being.
Yeah.
Huh?
Fellow I was working for in the flour mill packed 300 pounds of flour out and put it in a sleigh for an Indian, you know.
Yeah.
And he told her how much it was, and she said, "Pay Kisi cow,
Mhm.
pay Kisi cow."
In the future, sometime.
That means yeah.
Yeah.
That means tomorrow or next week or next month, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Kisi cow be damned, he said. He picked the flour right up right there and packed it back out there. I said, "What the woman needs that flour? What's the matter with you?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I said, "She wouldn't pay for it." I said, "I bet she will." I said to her, said, "Pay Kisi cow. Pay Kisi cow," she said. I put the flour back,
And you paid for
and
it.
I paid for
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 days afterwards, she came in with the flour bags all washed and pressed out by hand, nice, and cash money to pay for the flour.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a great big smile on her face, and she paid me right in front of my boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she wouldn't have paid him.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't think she would have paid him.
Yeah.
But she knew me from the bush.
Yeah. Yeah.
We called her Old Maggie, and she was a good old gal.
Yeah.
Better believe it. You betcha.
Could they cook if they had the food and stuff? Could they cook real well? I mean, if they had the supplies.
Oh yeah,
the-
they
Like beans, could they make good baked beans if they had the equipment and stuff? Or did they ever eat baked beans?
eat what?
Baked beans?
Oh no, they don't
They
eat
never
stuff
made-
like that.
Rice?
No, they eat meat.
Just meat?
Well, sure, eat whatever you catch.
Yeah.
Hang a muskrat up by the tail and by the fire on a string.
Really?
Yeah,
And spin it?
and let it turn. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it'll turn and turn and turn
Yeah.
and turn and
Yeah.
turn. Yeah, yeah. And the Indian, he catches a muskrat and the squaw cooks it, and he sleeps while it's cooking. Yeah. They'll make a fire with willows, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and rake the coals out on the side, and take a deer steak and flop it right on the coals, right on the fire, and cook it until the juice starts coming out on the top of it. Then they rake another patch of coals out about an inch deep on the other side and turn it over
Mm-hmm.
on that.
It
And
comes
if
out
you've
pretty
never ate a barbecued,
You're making me hungry.
you can't
Yeah.
barbecue on anything that's any better than that is.
Yeah, yeah.
I've eaten lots of that. Dick Kennardine, the fellow I worked for in Saskatchewan, he lived with the Cree Indians for a while there in the early days in Saskatchewan,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought home some steaks. Mrs. Kennardine, she cooked her steaks in the frying pan. We took the lids off and raked the coals out right in the firebox and cooked our steaks down in the firebox. She thought we were crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Scraped the ashes off of it and ate it.
Did she try it then? Did
No,
she-
she wouldn't.
she
try it.
wouldn't,
Nothing to do with it.
No, that was too barbarian.
No, sir.
That's too barbarian.
He wasn't eating any crap like that.
Well, what would you cook in the bush when you were out trapping? What would you carry with you?
Well, we ate meat mostly.
Yeah.
Muskrats.
Yeah.
Sure.
Caribou?
Rabbit.
You
No,
weren't in caribou
no
country.
caribou, no.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't enough caribou and deer meat.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky enough to get a hold of a deer, you know.
They were scarce, huh?
Yeah, lots of timber wolves in the country, you see what I mean? And
Oh.
the timber wolves were cleaning the country right out. Timber wolves were starving to death. When the timber wolves start starving to death, it's pretty tough on you in the bush.
I'll bet
I'll
you.
tell you that.
I'll bet you things are really
You
irony.
better believe it. If a timber wolf can't get out and get his breakfast, you bet your life you're going to walk a lot of miles before you get yours.
Yeah, even with a rifle.
Better believe it.
Yeah. Huh.
Yes, sir, and you want to be pretty smart if you're going to catch a timber wolf too.
Did I
It's
tell
just-
you what happened to us?
You can't catch them in a trap, you know.
I tried to one time.
Yeah.
I had this piece of a rib cage of a deer, you know,
Oh yeah.
and you know how they're rounded,
Yeah.
and we found a big spruce tree. And we nailed it on the spruce tree. Nailed the rib cage on the spruce tree. And even put some wire on it. I don't know why, but we figured we better do this, you know. So then we went down and set a big number 4 with teeth,
Yeah.
jump trap. Well, we came back, you know, and it was right on this trail, right beside where wolf. You know how they go around in circles?
Yeah.
And they come every 2 weeks about.
Yeah.
At least in this
Yeah.
area, they came around every 2 weeks. We went out and checked our traps every week. We didn't check them often enough, really, but it was cold and we figured they'd freeze, you know. So, but we come around, and every 2 weeks there'd be a fresh set of those tracks, and they made your heart thump. When you looked down on the ground and you saw tracks like that, and realized there was something that big in the woods with you, it made you think. So anyway, we stuck this trap right by the trail, right there, and when we came back about 2 weeks, just like a clock, there, the rib cage was gone off the tree.
The trap's still sitting there.
Trap sitting there. He just, you know, they're so big, so
Yeah.
long, that he just reached across. Here's the tree with the rib cage. He just reached across like this, grabbed it with his jaws, and
Ripped her right off.
ripped off the tree, and went away.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to fool him. He'll cut it. If he's going to come over and look at where you've got a set, he usually circle back and forth and around out a ways, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that. And say 20, 30 feet away, if there's a little bump in the ground,
Yeah, that's where to put your traps.
put one over there, well camouflaged.
Mm-hmm.
And
We used to do this. Just set a trap like that on a snowy day. We hoped for a snowy day.
yeah,
Just set the trap right there
yeah,
and not cover it. And the snow would cover it. You know,
Yeah.
if the snow came down. That was the best way.
put some horsetail
Underneath.
horsehair under the pan on it so
Yeah,
it won't freeze
yeah.
down.
Horsetail.
Yeah.
I thought it used cattail.
Oh, you can use cattail if you want to. Take your trap and set it. Go down to a slough
Yeah.
and dip it into the water.
First.
Set. Chain and all.
Why? To freeze it?
And pull it out and let it freeze, solid ice.
Yeah.
And then you shove cattail very carefully under the
Mm-hmm.
Very pan on the trap.
Right. Very
Yeah.
carefully from the underside.
Yeah, from the underside. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not with your fingers, with a stick.
with a stick, right? Yeah.
And you take and set it and crack the ice as little as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And the scent, your human scent is all froze under the ice,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
under a layer of ice. And
Well, wouldn't it keep it from springing though?
no,
It'll break
go off.
loose, huh?
You don't worry about it. If he steps on it, it'll go off.
He's big enough.
Yeah. Timberwolf weighs more than you do. He weighs 200 pounds.
I weigh 200.
Huh?
I weigh 200.
You do, ain't you? Timberwolf weighs 200 pounds. He
Yeah.
breaks through the snow where you can walk on top,
Mm-hmm.
because his feet's smaller.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But don't worry about catching him. You ain't going to catch one in the trap. You can try everything you can think of.
You have to use a snare or what?
They catch a few of them in snares. And the snare is the ideal way because you can put a choker on the snare. And all you need is just a light clog on it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It'll catch in the brush somewhere.
And he makes about 3 jumps.
Yeah.
And
then he hits the end of that.
Snap tight on his throat and choke him to death.
Yeah.
He dies just as fast as he can die.
Yeah.
That's the most humane way of killing them there is.
We started using that for foxes too.
But you
That
can't.
was the best way.
They won't let you use snare wire. You catch too many deer.
Yeah.
They say, and if you're a smart trapper, you don't catch deer in a snare.
That's
You know, just
Yeah.
as stupid guys catch deer in snares.
Does it make you, when you think about trapping in the old days, does that make you fond memories? I enjoyed trapping.
You did, eh?
I,
I trapped muskrats. That was my main goal.
yeah.
I never trapped anything else much.
Yeah.
I did set a few snares for coyotes, but I never caught no coyotes.
Yeah.
I used to take 3-inch nails and make chokers. Bought snare wire and made up my own snares.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got a kind of an oil on it, and when they make it, you know.
Yeah, to keep it from
Yeah.
rusting. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and so it won't wear things out in the machinery when they're when it's running through the machinery, you see.
What was the wire really intended for?
Snare wire.
Oh, it was snare wire.
But you can't make it dry.
Oh, they have to pull it through
All
a die.
cable is oiled when the strands come out of the machine, you see.
Oh,
So that it won't wear out your slides and stuff
yeah,
where it
I
slides
guess,
through.
yeah. So you had to boil your snares and get the
Boil
oil.
your snares. Boil all the way out.
You ever
You
use
can't
it?
get it all out, you see, this is the bad part.
And the animals smell it.
You can't get it all. You smell the steel, never mind that, you know. You bare steel, you smell it.
But don't they ignore it if it's around fencing? You know, they get used to smelling steel where there's barbed wire and
The
stuff.
minute he smells the steel, well, he gets suspicious.
Yeah.
And then he gets real careful. And,
I've had foxes go right around like that. I know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
I have a fox snare in the trail. I can see this one right now. I just pictured in my mind. And it was long by this bush, a real good trail. And that fox came up and he just went, and then back to the trail and then along. Went right around that.